In 1933, the United States government did something almost unthinkable. It became illegal for ordinary citizens to own gold. Not to sell it, not to trade it, to simply possess it. If you were caught holding gold coins, bars, or even gold certificates after the deadline, you could face a $10,000 fine. That's hundreds of thousands in today's money, and even up to 10 years in prison. Overnight, millions of Americans were forced to hand over their most ancient store of wealth, their family treasure, their symbol of security in exchange for paper dollars. Not because they wanted to, because their government demanded it. Imagine that. Being told that what your parents saved, what your grandparents passed down through generations, was now illegal for you to hold. And this wasn't a scam run by criminals. It was law, written and signed by the highest office in the land. An order that would forever change the way money and power worked in America. To understand how such a shocking decision happened, we need to step back to one of the darkest economic chapters in American history, the Great Depression. By 1933, the country was broken. 1 in 4 Americans was out of work. Factories stood silent. Banks were collapsing by the thousands. People were losing everything. At that time, every paper dollar in circulation was backed by a fixed amount of gold, $20.67 per ounce. It was the era of the classical gold standard. But as panic spread, depositors started demanding their gold back. They lined up at banks, trying to exchange their paper for real metal. And as vaults emptied, the entire financial system was on the brink of collapse. Then came Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Sworn in as president in March 1933, he faced an economy in free fall and a banking system gasping for life. He needed a bold solution, something powerful enough to stop the panic. Less than a month later, on April 5th, 1933, he signed Executive Order 6102. The order made it illegal for private citizens to own most forms of gold. People had just a few weeks until the end of April to surrender their gold to the Federal Reserve or a local bank. In exchange, they'd receive paper dollars at the official rate, $20.67 per ounce. The government said this was necessary to stabilize the banking system, to stop hoarding, restore confidence, and give the Federal Reserve the power to expand the money supply. But in reality, it became one of the largest forced transfers of wealth in modern history. Across America, citizens lined up with their coins, their bars, even family heirlooms, turning them over to the government under threat of punishment. Some resisted. They hid gold in basements, buried it in fields, melted it into jewelry to disguise it, but most complied because the risk was too high. Here's the part that stings the most. After collecting all that gold, the government didn't just hold it. In January 1934, less than a year later, Congress passed the Gold Reserve Act. The price of gold was instantly revalued from $20.67 to $35 per ounce. Just like that, the US dollar was devalued by 40%. The same gold citizens had been forced to surrender at the old price. It was suddenly worth far more, but now it belonged to the government. It was a masterstroke of financial engineering, and for ordinary Americans, a legal form of theft. By seizing gold and devaluing the dollar, Roosevelt's administration unlocked the power to inflate the money supply, to spend more, to borrow more, and to launch the massive New Deal programs that would reshape the economy. For the banks, it was salvation. For the government, it was control. But for everyday Americans, it was betrayal. Now, imagine this personally. Your grandparents saving gold coins for decades. One morning, they're told it's illegal. They hand it over for paper, and a few months later, the government quietly raises the gold's value. They lose. The state wins. And there's nothing anyone can do. That's not theory. That's exactly what happened in 1933. The backlash came quickly. People filed lawsuits, the famous Gold Clause cases. At that time, many private contracts were written with gold clauses, promises to repay debts in gold, not paper, as protection against inflation. By confiscating gold and devaluing the dollar, the government had effectively voided those contracts. Creditors sued, claiming it was unconstitutional, that the government was trampling private property rights. In 1935, the Supreme Court made its decision. By a single vote, it upheld Roosevelt's actions. That ruling set a chilling precedent. In times of crisis, the government could rewrite the rules of money, override private contracts, and seize wealth in the name of national interest. But this was about more than saving banks. It was about ending the gold standard itself. By removing gold from private hands, Roosevelt broke the direct link between citizens and real money. From that moment forward, paper dollars were no longer promises of redemption. They were backed only by government decree. Trust in gold was replaced by trust in authority, and the modern financial system was born. Who benefited most? The answer's clear. The government, first and foremost. By seizing and revaluing gold, Washington's reserves instantly grew by billions. That money funded public projects, stabilized the banks, and fueled the recovery, all without raising taxes during the Depression. Banks were the next winners. With citizens' gold now held at the Federal Reserve, confidence returned and the system survived. But for ordinary people, their safety net had been taken, and some, the powerful and the well-connected, found ways around the rules. They moved gold overseas, converted it into collectible coins, or jewelry exempt from confiscation. The average citizen had no such loopholes. They complied or faced prison. And so a massive transfer of wealth flowed upward from ordinary families to the government and the elite. Fast forward to today. Why does this matter now? Because the principle hasn't changed. When the system is threatened, governments will do whatever it takes to protect it, even if that means stripping citizens of their wealth. In 1933, it was gold. In 2008, it was taxpayer-funded bailouts for failing banks. In 2013, Cyprus seized citizens' deposits to save its financial system. In 2020, massive money printing inflated asset prices, while real wages lagged behind a quiet theft through inflation. No one knocks on your door anymore, but the effect is the same. Your savings, buy less. Your labor is worth less, and the system absorbs the difference. That's confiscation, not by force, but by policy. The lesson from 1933 is simple and terrifying. Don't assume your wealth is untouchable. Don't assume the system will always play fair. Because when pressure builds, the rules will change. If the government could make gold illegal once, what's to stop it from freezing digital accounts tomorrow? Or taxing assets so heavily that savings disappear overnight? The precedent already exists. The only difference is the form it takes. True wealth isn't just numbers on a screen. It's assets and knowledge that lie beyond the reach of sudden policy shifts. It's skills, hard value, and awareness. Because no government can confiscate what you truly understand. When America took its citizens' gold, it wasn't called theft. It was called rescue, patriotism, a sacrifice for the greater good. But the result was the same. The system survived, and the people paid the price. History doesn't repeat, but it whispers the same warning. Over and over again, if they could take wealth once, they can do it again. So the next time you hear a politician promise stability or a banker tell you your money is safe, remember 1933. Because the rules of money aren't laws of nature, they're decisions of power. And power can change in an instant. Protect yourself, not with blind faith, but with knowledge, awareness, and the pursuit of real wealth. If this story gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers.